Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the TradeStation Masterclass. My name is Jesus Nava. I'm the Director of Client Training and Education for TradeStation Securities. It's always great to be here to talk a little bit about TradeStation. Specifically, we're going to do a class on EasyLanguage. We're going to try to keep things simple and straightforward so you can see the capabilities of EasyLanguage. EasyLanguage, for those that are new to this programming class, is TradeStation's proprietary programming language. It allows you to customize indicators and also create custom strategies. Today, we're going to use the next 45 minutes to customize a strategy, use some common ideas or technical ideas that we're probably very familiar with, but we're going to try to combine them into one single strategy using something called conditional branching inside of EasyLanguage. So the title is Dynamic Strategies with EasyLanguage Conditional Branching. And what this alludes to is the ability for you to create a strategy that has conditions. And if something happens, then you want to take a certain action. A lot of times, if we are trading the markets, you know that the markets evolve and they change constantly. So having a strategy that adapts and looks at different conditions and only trades under certain conditions is important for the trader. That way, if you are wanting to automate a strategy, you can do that, because then you've allowed the strategy to adapt to changing conditions. So we're going to talk a little bit about that once we start combining different strategy concepts, and you're going to see how simple it is to do it in EasyLanguage. I'm not going to say that it's a beginner class, because that's why it's called a master class. We're talking about an advanced topic, but it is something that certainly all of us can do with EasyLanguage, all right? Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that we talk about here today is for educational purposes only. These are not recommendations of TradeStation, especially when we talk about strategies and what you can do on TradeStation. Is not because we're favoring one strategy over another, and we just need to be clear about that. Also, past historical performance is no guarantee of future results. We may look at a strategy performance today that is interesting, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get the same results going forward, and we also need to be aware of that. If you need additional information on these disclosures, please go to www.tradestation.com/important-information. All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go through some slides of this PowerPoint presentation that provide you a view of the syntax of what a conditional statement would look like. I mean, they're simple and straightforward, starting with an if-then statement. We're going to keep the class simple, but you can start creating conditions and branching inside of your EasyLanguage code and make it as complex as you need it to be. But this is the simplest form of an if-then statement, is a conditional. Allows the user to have an instruction carried out only under certain conditions. Remember when we talked about trading a strategy that only trades under certain conditions? This is exactly what we're talking about. And those conditions are contained in a true-false expression. So if the expression is false, then it'll skip it. But if the expression is true, it'll take the action. It all depends on how you write the code, though, because maybe you're looking for a false expression in order to take an action. So yeah, it all depends on how you write the syntax, that the EasyLanguage will just follow those instructions. But in a nutshell, this is what it looks like. If true false expression, then action to be taken. And this can be anything. Like, for example, if the close crosses a moving average, then buy next barred market. So you have the condition and then you have the action to take. One of the examples we're going to take a look at today is if the ADX value is above a certain threshold, then I want you to take this action. Okay, so this is a simple form of an if-then statement. If something happens, then do this. You can also have something called a block if-then statement. And this is very useful when you have multiple actions to be taken. So the concept is the same. What changes is the number of things that happen when the condition is true or false. For example, if true false expression, then begin. Interestingly, this one called the block if then statement has a begin and it has an end. Since you have multiple actions, yes, you have to begin and end at a certain point. And between the begin and the end is where you list every single action to be taken. Exactly like the one we saw previously, but instead of just one action, you have multiple actions to take. It could be buy next bar at market. It could be, multiple orders. I mean, you can buy at a certain price stop or buy at a certain price or sell at a certain stop. Whatever the conditions may be, then you have these multiple actions within this block if then statement. Then you have a block if then else statement, which is pretty cool because now you're not only saying, hey, if the condition is true, take these series of actions. You're also saying, if they're not true, then I have a separate set of actions to take if the condition is not true. So this is a block if then else statement. And it's easy to follow. It may seem long and complex, but you take it from the top to bottom. And if you have the true or false expression, then you begin. Action, action, action. End. That ends that first block. And then it says else begin. Else meaning that if the true or false expression is giving you an opposite result, then you have a different set of actions to take. Remember that every begin must have an end in order for EasyLanguage to verify. So if you're going to use a block statement, meaning that you have multiple actions to take, and you're using that begin word, that you have a matching end. Otherwise, you're getting an error. If you have two begins and one end, that doesn't really jive with EasyLanguage. So make sure that whenever you use a block statement that has a begin, that you put down the end. And I think that's it. I wanted to show you just the syntax so you can keep it in the back of your heads, because as you create branching inside of TradeStation, we're going to be using these if-then statements, whether they're simple if-then, block if-then, or block if-then else statements. It depends on how many different variations you can have in your strategy. Let's go over here to my TradeStation platform and talk about something we can somewhere we can use the if-then conditions. Okay, I'm going to open up a chart here and set up the stage for our strategy. Okay, chart analysis. All right, this is a chart of Apple. It's totally fine. It's on a 5-minute time frame. I'm going to change the time frame to daily. Okay, I have a daily chart right here, and I'm going to set this to 5 years. 5 years of historical data on Apple. Let me go ahead and disable account orders and positions. All those little arrows you see here, the white and the blue, is just historical trades that I've done on this simulator, and I see them on the chart. But whenever I test strategies or I want to, have a clean chart, I have to right-click on one of those little arrows and disable account orders and positions. That's something you can do on your side as well. A lot of times, especially in the simulator, we test so many things that you have all these entries and X's that make no sense to you. So you can disable those just to have a clean chart and you can start a new analysis. This whole strategy that I'm going to work on is based on a 2-bar pattern called the key reversal. Key reversal, very interesting pattern because the market is giving you an indication that the price may be going up or down, and all of a sudden it reverses. Now that reversal is represented by where the bar closes. And if the bar closes higher than the previous bar on a key reversal up, then that's what forms the key reversal up. On the top side, if you have higher highs and all of a sudden the closing price is lower than the previous close, then that constitutes a key reversal down. Let's go ahead and put them on the chart. I think we did a class on key reversals very recently, but today we're just going to do a variation of a strategy that uses if-then conditional statements. I'm going to go here to studies, add study. In the show me category is where we find these key reversal patterns. Here we go, key reversal down and key reversal up. I'm going to add them both. I'm just going to make sure that the dots are bigger so that I can see them on the screen. For the key reversal down, my dots are going to be red. Let me change the color here to magenta. Let's keep them red. Okay, and for the other one, yeah, these are fine. I'll make them blue. So blue and red, this is the key reversal up, is going to be blue, and the style is going to be thicker. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the style of this chart to an open, high, low, close chart. That way I can see the dots a little bit better. Okay, so all I did to this chart is add two show me's, key reversal up and key reversal down. For those that are not familiar with the key reversal formation, let's go ahead and zoom in a particular bar. I'm going to go here and right here at the bottom, I see the magnifying glass. Let me go ahead and zoom in one of these dots so that we can see. Let's go here to the very front of the chart, something that's happening right now. This is the bar, January 31st. Okay, we have a key reversal down plotted on this bar. In fact, we have a key reversal down on the prior bar as well. But this is a very clear indication of what a key reversal is. Notice that there is a significant price movement towards the top, and we got a higher high than the previous high. You see how it exceeds the high? But all of a sudden, notice where the closing price is. The closing price of this candle is down here, which is visibly and very visibly lower than the previous bar's close. So even though we had this strong push to the upside, eventually the chart lost a lot of steam and the closing price actually went lower than the previous bar. That is exactly what a key reversal down is. It's kind of an indicator telling you, hey, something may be happening to the price. We may be heading in the opposite direction, because even though we had this strong movement to the upside, we closed lower than the previous bar. And on this particular trade, it came true. You know, we can see that the signal actually played out, and you can see how the next bar actually just went lower than what the previous bar was. So all those red dots that you see is exactly that same behavior. You get a higher high, but then you have a closing price lower than the previous bar. And all the blue dots are the opposite. You get a lower low than the previous bar, and then all of a sudden the closing price is higher than the previous bar. Those are the key reversals up. But you can see that there is a significant number of patterns that are identified in the historical movement of Apple. A lot of times, some of these trades you wouldn't take. A lot of times, if you're trading a key reversal, you want to make sure that you're trading it in the direction of the market movement. Not only in the direction of the market movement, but also when the markets are trending. A lot of times, if you get back-to-back key reversals when the prices are moving sideways, you don't really get a lot of good trades because nothing develops. You're kind of flipping back and forth between long and short, and there's no development of any of these prices. Of course, it's much better just to put on a strategy and see the real performance of this strategy if you had traded every single time a dot appeared on your chart. So let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to go to the studies and add a strategy. We have a built-in strategy based on this key reversal concept. So I'm just going to go here to the key reversal. There we go. And I'm going to insert both the key reversal LE and the SE. I'm going to skip the exits for now. I just want to use the entries. So if I see a key reversal long entry, I'm going to go long. And the short entry is just going to flip me back and forth between a short and a long trade. Let me put that on the chart. And there it is. You can see that there is a significant amount of trading. Let me go ahead and expand my view here a moment. So you can see that every time, well, not every time, sometimes you don't see a trade that aligns with a dot. The reason for that is because the strategy only takes one trade in one direction at a time. So if you go a few trades back, you can see that on this particular bar where my cursor is, on this particular bar, the strategy was already long. So when you see the blue dot here and the blue dot here, those dots are ignored because you are already in a long trade. Does that make sense? So it only takes one trade in one direction at a time. Of course, you can change that and allow the strategy to pyramid, meaning that it increases your position size as the conditions are true in the direction of the same trade, but not here. Here, it takes the long trade and then it waits until there's a short signal to go short. Notice that here we have the same scenario where, yes, we get a red dot and then it follows with a trade, but then you get a second red dot, but nothing happens. Why? Because the strategy is already in a short trade. But the strategy is technically flipping you back and forth between a long trade and a short trade. If you go here to the very front of the chart, you can see the same scenario developing where we saw a red signal of a couple of weeks ago. This is a key reversal down. The strategy went short. Now the price has been up and down since then, but notice that only key reversal downs have shown, and nothing has happened on those key reversal down because we are already in a short trade. All right, so what can we do to the strategy to evaluate this particular behavior? Well, we can go here to the data and go to strategy performance report. Okay, so we look at the strategy performance report. This is something that I didn't look at, earlier. So this is a great example of what you can do to think outside the box and see how you can introduce other components and other technical ideas to refine your strategy. I see here that the strategy did not do well. I have a net profit of $7,000 loss. That's why it's a red number and it's in parentheses. So in 5 years, I lost almost $8,000. You can see the gross profit and the gross loss. Of course, the loss exceeds the profits, and it gives me a profit factor of 0.81. So for every dollar that I lost, I only made 81 cents, which doesn't make it a profitable strategy. I'm going to click on collapse here to see some other summarized view here. But in 5 years, it traded 162 times. 48% of the trades were profitable. But you can see that, yeah, at this point, it's not a strategy that I would even want to look further because of one of the most important things is profitability, and the strategy is not profitable. But what can I introduce to think of different ideas? Well, one of the things that we mentioned is, the signals usually work better when the markets are trending. Let's look at, there's a lot of trades happening here. So let's go ahead and take a look. One of the indicators that helps us determine if the market is trending is something called the ADX. Let's go ahead and put it on the chart and I can show you different scenarios. Let me go here to studies, add study, and let's bring up the ADX. So the ADX will plot on its own subgraph, and it has a threshold. The threshold here for this ADX is about 20. Of course, that's user editable. So you can make it anything you'd like. But it's a clear indicator that just tells you when markets are moving. Whenever the markets are moving sideways, we have the indicator has a tendency to be below that threshold. Whenever it exits that threshold, it's because the market is experiencing some strong movement, either to the upside or the downside. So the ADX doesn't tell you in which direction the markets are moving. It just tells you that there is movement. Notice over here from this date, August of last year, all the way until December of last year, the prices of Apple moved kind of sideways. They were moving between 220 and 230 approximately. There wasn't a major trend. And what happened to the ADX? It kind of dipped, and you can see that it stayed below this 20 level. So it's a clear indicator that allows you to identify areas in the chart or any security that is trending. Okay, I'm going to use that level as a default just to see what effect it has on my strategy. So there's a few things I need to do here. Now I have, different things going on. I have the key reversal. I have the ADX. So the question here is, how do I combine all that into a strategy? That's where EasyLanguage comes in very handy, because you can mix and match a lot of these things into your own code. So let me show you how you can do that. From the strategy itself, I can right-click and go to Edit EasyLanguage for the strategy. And I can go here to the key reversal. Let's start with the long entry. This opens up the development environment, and it opens up the code that controls that strategy. A lot of times, if you haven't seen this before, it may be a little bit overwhelming, but I'm going to try to keep things simple so that it's easy to understand. You're going to see how easy it is for me to combine different ideas and make them be applied on the chart. This is the key reversal long entry. Let me go back to my strategy and also open the key reversal short entry, because they're going to be very similar. Notice that they open up as two tabs up here. So I have the key reversal SE and the key reversal LE. And you can see that as I switch from one to the other, the change between the two strategies is very minimal. It just changes which prices are being evaluated, the lowest low or the highest high, and that's what the change is. I'm also going to open up the code for the ADX. Let me come back here to TradeStation, right-click on this ADX line, and say Edit EasyLanguage for ADX. Now, the code for the ADX is a little bit more elaborate, because it does many more things. We may not need everything here from the ADX. I'm going to show you exactly what I need, because when an indicator is created, like the ADX we saw here on the chart, you have different things going on. You have this level at 20, then you have, the color of the line changes from yellow to red. So there's the alert messaging. So you may not need all of that for the strategy. So let's go ahead and just do a very specific selection of the items that we need. I'm going to start a new strategy, by the way, here, because I just opened up the EasyLanguage code of the things that I need just to keep it in the background. But I'm going to start a strategy of my own that uses all these components together. So from the development environment, I'm going to go here to File, New, and go to Strategy, which is the document that I want to trade. I'm going to call this strategy at MC. And by the way, I'm going to share this little piece of code with everyone here so that you can, copy and paste from the chat. And if you're unable to copy and paste, I can always, send it to you via email. So let me go ahead, and this is at MC key reversal ADX. I'm combining the two concepts of key reversal and ADX. I don't want a template, so I set that to none, and it opens up a blank document. First thing, I'm going to go here to the key reversal long entry. I'm going to copy inputs and this. I don't copy, the green text, because the green text is just annotations. It's just like informational text. It's just there for you to read, and it gives you some definitions, but it's not really EasyLanguage. It's just to make notes. You can make notes instead of your strategy as well. And you do that using these French brackets or the squiggly brackets in order to enter notes into your code. So I don't need all that information. I just need the inputs and the if-then statement. Oh, one thing that I didn't point out is the if-then statement that is right here. Here's the if. Here's the true-false expression. And here's the then. And then the action to take. Very simple and straightforward. So let me go ahead and copy all this. I'm going to go here to my strategy, and I'm going to paste it. Okay, let me go ahead and go to the next line. I'm going to do the same thing with the short entry. Copy these lines, right-click, copy, go back here to my key reversal, and I'm going to paste. Okay, so now I have the two strategies inside of one single code, one single strategy. Now notice that both strategies have the exact same input. There's an input length, because length allows you to look back and determine the strength of your key reversal. By default, it's only looking back one bar. That's just a simple key reversal, the one we talked about at the very beginning. Of course, you can make that length greater and say, well, don't look at just the the bar before. Go back 2 or 3 bars or 4 bars and make sure that this high is the highest high or the low is the lowest low of all those bars. By default, it only looks back one, but you can make that signal a little stronger by looking back more bars. That's why there's a length here that allows you to enter how many bars do you want to look back. But since I'm only creating one strategy, I don't need this input repeated twice. So I'm going to delete it from one of the sides here and just leave the two if-then statements that control the buying and selling short of my strategy. Now, the length, of course, is being used in both. It's only going back 1 bar. I don't need this little section that says display name. I usually like to delete anything that I don't need so that the strategy looks simpler. This is only a tooltip whenever you don't understand what the length is, and it tells you what it is when you hover over it. It says enter the number of bars over which to look for a new high in prices. I know what it does, so I don't really need this tooltip piece. So I'm just going to delete it to simplify the code. So all I need is my inputs, my 2 conditions, and now the strategy should work. Let me go ahead and save this. Yeah, saving, you can see how verification is successful. I have all the pieces in place, and I can then go back to my TradeStation. Let me show you what I can do here. Let me remove the strategy that I added, which I added in 2 separate pieces. So let me remove the strategy. And let me remove both of them. And I'm going to go to Studies, add strategy, and add the one that I created. I do that just to confirm that it's exactly the same strategy or the same strategy that I'm modifying. So add MC, key reversal, ADX. I haven't added the ADX part yet, but I just want to make sure that it's the same exact strategy. And if I go back here to data, strategy performance report, you can see that we are exactly at the same level, 7,800 loss, 0.81 profit factor, 162 trades. So even though we changed the original strategy and created one single one, is exactly the same. We didn't change the code, we just combined it into one. Now this is my canvas where I can make any changes or any modifications, including adding this additional condition of an ADX. So what do I do? Okay, let me go back here to my code. And if I look at the ADX indicator, the inputs here, as I said, are a lot more than what we need. For example, the very first one is the ADX length, which I'm going to need because if you look down here, when it calculates ADX, it uses that number because this is the number of historical bars that are used in the ADX calculation. The trigger level, I'm going to use a trigger level, so I'm going to use that one. But notice these plot coloring, above color, below color, equal color. So these colors are applied on a line. On a strategy, you don't really see color. You see the signals, but the colors don't really mean anything on a strategy because you have no lines, you have no plots, right? So those are inputs that I don't need. I can delete them here, not here because I'm going to do them on a strategy. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these 2 that I need at the very top. I can delete some of this information. Remember that I did it on the length, like all the information inside square brackets I can remove. But let me go ahead and just copy this piece because I'm going to need these two inputs, but not all that information. Let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back here to my strategy. Let me go here inside before the semicolon. I'm going to paste here, Control V. Now, after the length, I'm going to need a comma here. I don't need this integer. This is kind of classifying what type of input do you are you declaring. I try to keep my code simple. Some of the things are optional. Like that's one of the things that are optional, like classifying your inputs and making them a specific type. As I said before, anything between these square brackets I don't need. So there we go. I have another comma. And then let me take this double out. Remember, this is just classifying my trigger level, and I'll remove everything that is inside square brackets, including that comma. So yes, I could have just come in here and typed in my inputs. That's something that I could have done. I rely a lot on copying and pasting. So, but you can just go in here straight after length 1 and just type in your inputs. Maybe that would have been simpler, right? But I do need the ADX length and the trigger level because those are things that I'm going to reference in this strategy. Let me open up my code here, because now let me go back here to my ADX. I'm going to need a variable that's called the ADX value. Now from here, I'm not going to copy and paste or simplify things. I'm going to come back here to my strategy. I'm going to use a variable. Variable is just a little container. You know, it's not, it sounds complex, but it's not. A variable is just a simple word that we are declaring that's going to have a specific value, a specific calculation. The word that I'm going to declare, it's the ADX value. Is that what it is? Doesn't have to be exactly the same, but it's an ADX value, yes. And notice what the calculation is right here. I can copy it from here if I wanted to, or type it in. So I have my variable declared, and then I just have what the ADX value is. Okay, so the first thing we do is declare the word ADX, ADV, ADX. ADX value is a word that does not exist in the code. So you have to declare it, and the variable declaration statement is pretty much that. You're telling EasyLanguage, hey, ADX value is a word that I'm going to use right now. And that word will hold a number. So the 0 that you find here inside parentheses is just telling EasyLanguage, this variable is a numeric variable. It's going to hold a number. So once you tell EasyLanguage that you're going to start using this word, you're declaring it, then you assign it. ADX value equals the ADX, and we use the length in here. By the way, ADX is a function. That's why it comes up in blue. You know, ADX is something that EasyLanguage recognizes. I can right-click on this ADX, and I can open the function ADX, and you can see that the ADX function has its own EasyLanguage document inside of the development environment. So, but you don't have to rewrite it, which is pretty cool. Now I can just go back here to my strategy, call the function ADX. It knows exactly what the mathematical formula is. And all I need to do is supply a number inside parentheses. Well, that number is 14, which is defaulted here by the inputs. So notice what I'm going to do. So now I've introduced the ADX calculation inside my code, and I'm going to say trade OK. This is a variable that I'm creating. It's called trade OK. In fact, let me declare it. Trade OK. It's a variable that I want to use in order to track the mode. Can I trade or not trade based on the ADX calculation? So if the ADX is dipping below the threshold and the market is not moving, then I want the strategy to hold off trading until the ADX value is back over a certain threshold. So let me go ahead and trade OK. This variable, by the way, it's not a numeric variable. It's a true-false variable. So those variables are initialized to either true or false. In this case, I'm just going to start it at false. But this tells EasyLanguage, whatever trade OK is holding, it's not a number. It's either true or false. That's why here in the assignment, we have to make sure that whatever we put here in assignment is either a true or false statement. And our statement here is going to be ADX value is greater than trigger level. Does that make sense? Trigger level is right up here as an input. Right now it's set to 20. So as long as the ADX is above 20, or the ADX value is above 20, I'm okay to trade. Does that make sense? So that's a word that I just introduced, and then I'm just going to add it here into my if-then statements that control the trading. And that is done very simply. I just come here where the if-then statement is. I click so that I can see my cursor in there. And I'm just going to say, if trade okay, and I'm just adding an and. So I'm adding another condition to my if-then. Not only is it looking for a low that is lower than the lowest low, and the close to be greater than the close one bar goal. This right here, this is what the key reversal condition is. But I'm adding an additional condition by connecting it with an and. And I want the trade okay flag to be true. If trade okay and you get a key reversal, then you buy. But if you don't get the trade okay, if it's false, then it's not going to generate that trade. And I'm going to do the same thing for the short side here as well. Trade. Remember that EasyLanguage is not case sensitive, so I can do capital letters, lowercase. It doesn't really matter if it's if you do, you know, all capital letters. It's not case sensitive. That's why the and here is capital and the and here is lowercase. It makes no difference, okay? But you have three different conditions here. You have the trade okay, you have the lowest low, and then it looks at the closing price. Three conditions for one single trade. And this is how you combine different conditions into one strategy using the if-then conditional statement. Let me verify this. And verification is successful. Now, since I have the strategy already applied on the chart, it should have automatically applied that ADX condition. Let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to go back here to my TradeStation. And it's working. Take a look at the strategy here. You can see how it's generating trades. Now, I do have a little problem because when it dips, you can see that it keeps that trade from the last time that it was able to trade. So trade okay is right here. So we got that, you know, key reversal down and we went short, but then ADX dropped below 20. It stopped trading for a few months, but it held that short trade. So maybe we have to introduce another concept here of closing our position when ADX is below the trigger level. Let's see how we can do that. Let me go back here to my code. I can put it right below my entries and say, if ADX value is less than trigger level, then, and I can use something, I'm going to introduce something here that you probably, well, if you've done EasyLanguage and you've done personal strategies, you probably know this, but I'm going to check to see if I have an open position because I want the strategy to only go in here if there's an open position. If ADX value is less than the trigger level and open, a strategy position, is it? No. I think it's open position. No. Forgot. Let me do something. Let me go back. Let me go here to the dictionary. Okay. In the dictionary, sometimes I forget the words. EasyLanguage. I'm going to go here to strategy. Is it strategy automation? Strategy orders. Strategy performance, strategy position. Here we go. So the word is market position. That's what the one that I'm looking for. Market position. It returns 1 if you're long. It returns -1 if you're short, or 0 if you're flat. So if, let's do it right here. If market position does not equal 0 and ADX value is less than the trigger level, then begin. So I'm going to do two actions here. I'm going to do sell next bar at market, and buy to cover next bar at market. And then I'm just going to do the and. Notice what I did here. I did an if-then statement. This is an if-then block statement. It has two actions. It has the action to sell, and it has the action to buy to cover. In strategies, the action to sell next bar only closes a long position. So it doesn't go short. In order for the strategy to go short, you have to use the sell short action word. So let's just understand that and remember that, because you may think, well, this will take me short. It doesn't. Sell inside of EasyLanguage only closes a long position. If you want to go short, you have to use the combination sell short. But I combine these two into one because I want the trade to be closed, regardless if it's long or short, whenever the ADX value dips below 20. Let me go to verify this and see what happens. Okay, it's verified. And let me go back here to my strategy. And there we go. You can see that the short trade that had been traded, now it's covered right here on this candle, exactly when the ADX dips below 20. So now we don't hold that trade all the way over here. Does that make sense? So this is a strategy that is only trading whenever the ADX is above 20. Now that may be something that we need to optimize. I don't know, but let's go and take a look at the strategy performance report. Okay, this made it even worse than what it was before. So I thought that we were going in the right direction, and all of a sudden, it's not. I did try other levels here that we could look at, but you can see that we have fewer trades, but we have more loss. Okay, let's go ahead and change the level, because I think one of the numbers that I tried earlier was a 30% level. So let me go ahead and do it on the indicator first. It would look like this. If I change the trigger level to 30, it raises it. Notice that it raises it. Of course, it's going to reduce the number of trades that are generated up here, but that's fine. I can tolerate that. Now I have to do it on the strategy as well. So let me double click on my strategy, double click on the inputs, and I'm going to change the trigger level to 30. That's a nice part of about having these inputs, is that you can change those numbers on the fly. Okay, so now we get fewer trades. Let's go ahead and take a look now. Strategy performance report. Yeah, you see we are reducing the amount of loss, but the profit factor is still very low. We're still a negative strategy. This is a strategy that is not profitable. Of course, we can go into optimization and optimize the value just to get something that we can call a profitable strategy. But again, the more you optimize a strategy, the less likely is it to do the same behavior going forward. Because when you optimize a strategy, you are literally curve fitting the strategy to what happened in history. And anybody can do that. Anybody can just look at a chart and say, well, I'm going to enter down here and exit up here. That would be a perfect trade. And that's what optimization does. It looks at the historical data and optimizes entries and exits, but it's not something you can do once the trade has happened in real time. So we want to avoid, or not avoid, because optimization is there for a good purpose. It's for you to find optimal parameters, but you have to use optimization carefully. In fact, I think we have a few minutes. Let's go ahead and optimize the level just to see what type of numbers we get. I'm going to come here to the strategy. I'm going to go here to the trigger level, and I'm going to optimize it. I'm going to say optimize from 5 all the way to 50, an increment of 5. It's going to be a short optimization. It's going to test 10 different scenarios. So let me go optimize that. Okay, notice that it does that automatically. Doesn't. You see, this is what I'm talking about. Let me go ahead and see what happened. Let me go here to the strategy optimization report, because this is going to be very telling. Let me open this up a little bit more. So these are all the 10 tests that it ran, and it found that the only one that provided you profitable results is a trigger level of 50. Notice that it started at 5 as we instructed it, but all of them provide negative results except one, which is 50. Now, this is a strategy, of course, that I would not trust because, I mean, this is an outlier. All the different thresholds are going to give me negative results except one. So how likely is this strategy to make money? Very unlikely. I mean, if the difference between 40 and 45 is just minimal. So moving, the needle in either direction, left or right, would make the strategy a losing strategy. So it makes no sense. So I wanted to show you this so that you can take a look at what the strategy did here. Of course, if I go to the strategy performance report, yeah, this is a winning strategy, but it only generated 5 trades. Not something you can trust. This is a strategy that goes back 5 years of history. And if you only trade 5 times in 5 years, it's very unlikely for you to repeat that behavior going forward. Of course, it looks nice on paper, but it's very unlikely for it to happen. All right. But the focus of today's presentation was the ability for you to take different concepts and put them together into a strategy. Today, we took the key reversal concept and then we turned it into a strategy. Of course, you can do this in different markets and different time frames. For example, if I go back here and I say, let me reduce the amount of historical data to 2 years. All right. Now let me go ahead and format this again so that it looks at a level of 30. Okay, and if I go to the strategy performance report, yeah, this is still a losing strategy. But these are things that you can apply to different securities. For example, if you wanted to apply this on Tesla, it's just a matter of changing the symbol, and it does that automatically for you. In fact, you don't need to close the strategy performance report and cycle through different symbols to see which one fits, this strategy better. Let's go ahead and see, yeah, a lot of times you don't get that many trades. Always look at the number of trades just to see if you have a sound or a statistical, a trustable statistical measure. Because once you have more trades and they're all doing, well, then you have a better understanding. You have a strategy that may be allowing you to have a little bit more confidence on its results. But yeah, all these tools are going to help you develop a strategy. So make sure that you use them wisely and avoid curve fitting strategies using optimization excessively. Again, past historical performance, no guarantee of future results, but it's great that we have these tools so that we can play with different strategy rules and scenarios that we can test. All right, that's my class for today. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please send them to me to our education inbox. Let me go ahead and share that email with everyone here. It's just education@tradestation.com. I may not respond, right away. It's an inbox that I check periodically. But if I don't respond within 1 or 2 days, then just remember that I do a lot of sessions. And I'm usually not, sitting in front of my inbox, but feel free to email me there. If you need immediate help, we have a support team that can help you. You can call them and they're available whenever the markets are open. So make sure that you call them. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful day. And I hope to see you next time in one of my future classes. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.